Hey, welcome to another edition of Heim Time. I'm here with Melanie. Not only is Melanie on our team, but she is the founder of the Kinsley Lynch Foundation, which you see in the background here. So, Melanie, I just wanted to speak with you for a few minutes and get the story out there around the foundation and kind of go through a few points because, like you say all the time, water safety has no season, right? So, tell us a little bit about the foundation. If you could take a few minutes and do that for us.
Sure. The foundation was started because we had a tragedy in our family. Kinsley passed away in 2018 due to a drowning. There were plenty of adults around, and she slipped her life jacket off and slipped into the water unseen. And within a few minutes, we were pulling her out of the water. And unfortunately, she didn't make it. So trying to figure out how can we get out of this state of darkness and sadness and try to show some positivity out of it and show people that it can happen to them, we thought, okay, maybe we should start some sort of nonprofit to get the word out for a plethora of different reasons, not only to discuss water safety, but to discuss our story and tell people it can happen to you no matter how many adults, no matter how much supervision you have. Children have a mind of their own, and you blink and they can be submerged in water.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So what did you kind of walk through the process of kind of what brought you to the foundation, and really what are the pillars that the foundation does? What's the main purpose of the foundation?
So first and foremost, our main purpose is education. Education is key, and we will be nowhere and no one will learn anything without education.
Sure.
So going out into the community and teaching people that we have 5 layers of protection, not just, hey, this can happen to you, but these 5 layers of protection are vital to teaching parents and children, to be safe and respect the water, whatever that looks like. If it's open water, a pool, a lake, anything. So with that being said, the 5 layers of protection are barriers and alarms on your home, putting a fence around your pool, parental supervision or responsible supervision, what they call a water watcher, right? You should always tag in a water watcher no matter what. Don't look at your phone. Don't go in and get snacks. Always tag someone else who is responsible enough to be your water watcher. Water competency, which is education and teaching kids to swim. With that, we partner with different swim instructors in our area to teach kids ISR, which is different than traditional swimming lessons, and we can touch on that. Another thing is life jackets. Life jackets are imperative in open water, very important. Kids should never be near open water without a life jacket. Most of the time, even adults, it doesn't matter how good of a swimmer you are, something can happen. Yeah. And then last but not least is emergency preparation, learning CPR, and potentially learning how to use a defibrillator.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So let's kind of walk through a couple of those if you don't mind. So you said barrier protection, obviously locks and alarms.
On your windows, on your doors, if you have a sliding glass door, a courtyard door, anything where a kid can get out.
Yeah.
That way you can hear it. Make sure those alarms are loud and you can hear it.
Yeah. And then a fence, like fencing, what do you see from there? What have you learned through the foundation, talking to other companies on that, right? Around the water, the fence side of it. I mean, is a 4-foot, aluminum fence enough to have around the house, around the backyard, or I mean?
No, definitely. There are companies who are they speak pool fences, right? They are diligent in water safety, and that's their purpose, is to save lives with their fences. So a chain link fence or just a regular fence, that's not adequate enough to keep a child out of the water. Something a kid can climb over or something a child can unlock is not safe enough.
Yeah.
So it's got to be specifically for water safety.
Yeah, so you talk about the next thing is the life jackets, right? Mm-hmm. So what have you learned through the foundation talking with people around life jackets in general, right? We see this stuff on open water. We see the little puddle jumpers and the little stuff like that. What do you see and what do you recommend?
The first thing is any water safety expert would tell you not to put your child in a puddle jumper. I know when my kids were little, I thought, oh, puddle jumper, it's clips, it stays on, it's great. And, I put them in it. But I do remember my kids going face first into water because you're top heavy.
Mm-hmm.
You have something here and you have something on your arm. So automatically your face goes into water. It's more of a recreational float than a safety float. So the best thing you should do is put your kid in a Coast Guard approved life jacket. You can find videos online. You can Google it. It's very simple, but puddle jumpers are definitely a no-go.
Yeah. Yeah. And I really like the ones that zip up in the back because that was one of the things, unfortunately, that happened that day is Kinsley did have a life vest on and she unzipped it because it was in the front.
Yep.
So having something that zips in the back where they can't, almost like a straight jacket, if you would.
Correct, yeah.
Which is a really cool design, which I'm all for with that.
Absolutely.
So, good. The next thing we'll look at is like supervision. Obviously, that's pretty self-explanatory. I'll kind of
Yeah, make sure it's an adult who can swim, somebody who can swim. Somebody who has the competency to swim.
Yep.
Probably not another child or an older child. I would say an adult who has the physical capability to pull somebody out of the water if something were to happen.
Yeah, and then obviously the training. So you mentioned ISR. I know there's a few different companies or a few different programs out there, right? Like a self-rescue swimming versus standard something you get at a recreational facility, local recreational facility, which all we've learned that any kind of training is good, but kind of tell us a little bit about the individuals that you partner with and what they do that's different versus just a standard like recreational facility. Hey, we're going to run a week long swim, or training, if you would.
So ISR, which is Infant Swimming Resource, is different than traditional swimming lessons. There are a couple other companies I've tried to work with as well. We're in the infancy stages of those, but we've partnered solely with other instructors who are ISR certified. With that being said, the difference between the two is recreational swimming instruction is that in itself. It's to have fun, teach you how to doggy paddle, teach you how to swim laps, the basics, right? To get you back up if you jump in the water. But ISR, it teaches you something different. The fundamentals of that is it teaches you how to self-rescue. If a child were to fall in the water, it teaches you how to get back up to the surface, catch your breath, flip over, get to a safe spot, yell for help. There are a ton of different ways that a kid can self-rescue no matter what kind of water they fall into. Yep. So they also teach you, if you fall in, fully clothed in a jacket, your clothes, your shoes, things like that. So it's more real life scenarios because who could fall into the pool in the winter in a swimming suit?
Correct.
Right? So it just teaches you survival no matter what you're wearing because a coat can weigh you down. Shoes can weigh you down. As an adult, if I fell in the pool with shoes on, I'd probably freak out. The natural response is to panic. So this teaches you, take a breath, don't panic, get to a safe spot, yell for help, catch your breath. And it gives you time versus jumping in, falling in. Recreationally, you're not trained to kind of breathe and, get yourself to a safe spot.
Right. Yeah, one of the things that I found interesting in research with the ISR stuff, and that is that anywhere from it's a 6-week course, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. It's a few weeks of course, but over that it gets more and more. You're putting more layers on, and the last week I think is just all winter clothing, right? So, which is why I wanted to invite you in here this time of year to talk about it because, like we said at the beginning. Water safety has no season. And unfortunately, a sad statistic that we've talked about is that drowning is the number one killer, if you would, for lack of a better word, of children under the age of 6.
Correct.
So no matter what time of year. So horrifying. Don't want anybody to go through that. Very sad not to bring it down, but it's definitely something to look at there.
Yeah, I mean, it's the reality of it, and we've got to talk about it.
Yeah. So let's talk about the good stuff or the positive, right, out of this, right? So the foundation, kind of tell us so how are you working with those individuals in those swim rescue? Kind of what is your main purpose that you would say?
So what I do is, so let me back up a second. So with ISR, it's a different animal than traditional swim instruction, right?
Mhm.
The cost associated with it is much higher than something at a local swim place. So essentially, it can cost upwards of five, six, seven, $800 per student, depending on how long it takes to train them
Yeah.
for ISR. So for traditional swim, we see it starting anywhere between what, $50 and $100. It just depends.
Yeah.
So when parents, and me included, years before I learned all of this stuff, I thought ISR, I can't afford that. That's way too expensive. We'll go to the local whatever and pay $50.
Hmm.
My kid will be fine.
Hmm.
That was just the mentality. So knowing from my point of view and knowing, okay, other parents probably feel that way as well, it's a very high cost, but you don't realize how important that cost is until something happens. So again, I'm out in the community, we're out in the community talking about that to go, look, it's imperative.
Sure.
Skip a couple months of whatever to put that in your budget. Now, and that's not very feasible for a lot of people. That's a lot of money. That's a big ask. So what I do is I take on that financial burden from these parents who can't otherwise afford that to put their children into these self-rescue swim instructions to be able to be skilled. So we take that burden away from the families so there's hopefully no other reason why that would deter somebody to go
Yeah.
through it. Because I never want money to be a reason why a kid couldn't be skilled. It's just not.
Yeah. So just a question on that. So you raise funds. What's your main ways of raising funds through?
My main ways are I host a couple of events per year. I have the Child Safety Fair at the mall every year in May. We do a fall safety fair that we are a vendor at. So the spring safety fair is something that I put on myself and ask for vendors and things like that. And then the fall safety fair, we're a vendor at. So at these vendor events, during the spring safety fair, is we ask for these vendors to pay a fee to be a part of the event, and then anything above what I pay to the mall or to the venue goes directly into the nonprofit, and that's announced to the vendors as well. They have to sign a waiver and agree to that, and they're all very happy to pay that. It's wonderful. We have a big support system there.
So that event, if I could just touch on that for a second, with how many years have you been doing that?
Uh, it's been 3 years now.
So first year to third year, what have you seen for growth on that?
Oh, I think the first year we had 32 vendors, and this year, back in May, we had 107 vendors.
There's seven vendors. So
So pretty substantial growth, which means, year three, we have the trajectory to keep growing further and further.
yeah, so great stuff there. So kudos to you on that. So I know that's a very big daunting task. So if
Big undertaking.
any viewers are wanting to be part of that, please reach out.
Always looking for volunteers and vendors and anyone who wants to donate money, time,
Absolutely.
ideas, anything. So
Absolutely. So any other ways that you bring in kind of funding or anything on that?
I apply for grants every year any way that I can. We've applied for a couple of grants through Walmart and Sam's Club. They have graciously awarded those grants to us. We have asked for or applied for grants through the SOS Foundation, through the Clarksville Association of Realtors. They have so graciously given us that grant money as well over the last several years. And then going out in the community and just asking for donations. And the community has been very receptive and extremely generous. So the community makes it happen.
So you started the foundation and really got off the ground when?
About 3 years ago.
About 3 years ago. And how many children have you been able to put through scholarships have you been able to provide?
I don't have the exact number, but I'll tell you right this minute, I have 8 students actively in swim instruction
Phenomenal.
right now with one instructor. She has 8 of my students who are all scholarship students. So I believe with the 8, I think we have 19 students that we have helped, which is huge.
I got some chills there, by the way.
It's huge.
Yeah, that's great. So, lives saved, people impacted in a positive way. So, definitely hats off to you for all that work. So I know you spearhead that. So, all right. In addition to providing scholarships for ISR, is there anything else that the foundation offers?
There is. So mainly we do the ISR and pay for that. We have a big following with that piece. But what we also do is we offer monetary funds for those who have suffered a drowning in their family, and help pay for some funeral expenses. That's definitely something that a lot of people don't plan for.
Yeah.
For example, with Kinsley, her parents didn't have the funds to pay for a funeral. And luckily, we had people in our lives who showed up
Oh,
and helped us pay for that and do exactly what needed to be done. It's something you never prepare for and plan for and save for. A lot of people don't. So I never want a family to go, I can't do X, Y, or Z.
how am I going to do this?
Something so tragic that you never want somebody to feel that way. So we started to offer some monetary funds to families for funeral expenses. Not only that, we are starting to offer and partner with a local CPR instructor, and I'm going to pay for those classes for these parents to go through CPR and be trained.
Nice.
So, kind of a trifecta.
Yeah, absolutely. So, well, it's covering a lot. So I know that you're constantly looking at different ways that you can impact the community in a positive way.
Absolutely.
So, thank you for that.
Yeah.
Tell me how somebody can enroll and apply for a scholarship through the Kinsley Lynch Foundation.
So it's actually very simple. You just go to kinsleyLynchFoundation.com. The website's very, very simple to figure out and navigate. You just visit the website, you go under scholarship and then apply, and it takes you to a Google form. You can apply there. It asks for some of your information, some financial information, your child's age, things like that. Very, very simple. And then it asks you to upload your driver's license and a couple other documents.
Just for verification.
Just for verification, yes. Because we are a legal 501c3, I have to do things a certain way. So I know that other parents who have applied, even though it is personal information, we hold that very, very private. We don't share that information with anybody. It's just with me and my board of directors. So it stays private and confidential.
Mm-hmm. Well, good. So on the website, is there anything else that...
Definitely go on and visit the website. You can read about our story. It gives you a more in-depth version of what happened that day and why we do what we do. But then you can go on and donate as well. There's a donate button that takes you directly to the PayPal account, which is tied through a 501c3. It's not just regular PayPal. It is a nonprofit PayPal. And then we also have the capability to take Venmo payments as well. But you can donate straight through the website.
Good. All right. Well, again, hats off to you. I know it's a daunting task that you do with the foundation and impacting lives one at a time, and over the last 3 years being able to help nearly 20 families. That is a huge piece there. So, is there any last, like, what's one piece of advice that you would give to families?
I think sticking to those 5 layers of protection, being vigilant is the number one piece of advice I can give you, because just your eyes on somebody isn't enough to save a life. There are those 5 layers of protection for a reason. So it's just incredibly important.
Well, thank you for joining us. I do appreciate you taking time out of your day, and look forward to having many more conversations with you about the foundation.
Thanks.
Thanks.